In today's video, we are building an AI voice agent with none other than 11 Labs. That's right, 11 Labs just introduced Conversational AI, which is a powerful framework for creating lifelike and interactive voice agents. Think of your outbound sales callers, appointment schedulers, tutors, and even NPC game characters. 11 Labs Conversational AI is designed to rival industry leaders like Vapey, Synthflow, Bland AI, and Retail AI, promising lower latency agents and seamless real-time turn taking. How? By eliminating that one extra server call, typical in traditional platforms that utilize this voice orchestration layer. But today we'll jump into the new Conversational AI by 11 Labs, and we'll also dive into how to build one yourself. So let's jump into it. So just a few days ago, 11 Labs introduced a new Conversational AI in its platform to develop and deploy AI voice agents utilizing this well-known framework known as the voice orchestration layer, where we take speech to text, process that text with a large language model, and then produce speech from the LLM's output. Now, what does this look like in 11 Labs? Here we now have Conversational, and we have three items we can navigate through, that being agents, conversations, and phone numbers. Starting off with agents, we see here a very similar setup to other platforms like Vapey, Synthflow, and things like that, where we can create our assistant in this page using the playground or the plus button here. Playground offers the user to try an AI agent, and we have 4 different agents we can choose from. A support agent, so like an inbound agent, math tutor, video game character, and travel guide. We can select one of these and create an agent, or we can click up here and create a brand new agent from scratch. For this one, I'll use a template here. We'll call it Eric. We'll hit create an agent, and this brings up a screen like so, a traditional format for creating AI voice assistants, where we have our LLM inferencing side here. Under agent, we've got voice, analysis, security, advanced, and a widget. And we'll go through all of these now, starting with the agent side of thing. And this pertains mostly to the LLM and what the agent actually says. So we can choose from a native agent language here, and 11 Labs being the most popular voice provider out there at the moment, we obviously have a large variety of languages we can choose from for each agent. And today we'll just go with English. Next, we have a first message, and typically this is the first message that an agent will say to the user as soon as the call or web call has been connected. Now, in this case, we're using, "Hi, I'm Eric. How can I help you today?" But if we were to leave this blank, this implies that the user speaks first and then the agent speaks thereafter. Next, we have our system prompt, and this is generally what we can write as instructions to an LLM to define its personality, its role, its task, context, guidelines, and everything in between to construct our agent to achieve a specific goal. Now, in this support example, it's pretty short, and in production, this wouldn't work too well. And in the later part of this video, we'll create our own agent that actually has some utility, but for now we'll walk through the platform side of things, and then we'll get into creating one yourself. So as you can see in our system prompt, you are a support agent named Eric. You're friendly, enthusiastic, and you really want to help the customer get what they need. So in this section, we're putting in a prompt that guides the assistant on what to do. Now, we can also choose what LLM we want to use for that system prompt and this agent in general. And we can select from a few different options here, starting with Google Gemini. We've got OpenAI, we've got Anthropic, and we even got a custom LLM here. Primarily with these AI voice agents, you only really use one of 2 providers, that being OpenAI and Anthropic. But we can move down here, and we've got temperature. We can control strictness or randomness of the LLM token output. So the higher being the more random, and lower being the more strict and obedient to this task. We can also control the token token usage. We can also add a knowledge base for further context to this agent. And we have 3 options here we can choose from. Obviously, we can upload some files in PDF, TXT, doc, HTML. We can also specify a URL where the knowledge base is hosted. So this may be a website, and the website text content will be scraped and used as context to be passed to the LLM in conjunction with the system prompt we set. We can also just enter raw text directly to be passed alongside the LLM prompt. So pretty good, pretty stock standard for AI voice agents. We've also got 2 things at the bottom here, including tools, which is really the crux of these agents to actually provide useful applications in real world scenarios. And we have 2 tool types, one being a webhook and another being a client. Now, these webhooks allow us to perform functions during the call to external endpoints, and this could be any third-party application like your calendar, your CRM, your own server, and anything in between. And we can use this configuration format where we describe to the LLM when and how to use the tool. We can add headers, typical with API requests, as well as query and body parameters as well, and we'll jump into that later. We also got client as well, a similar approach, only this tool triggers an event on the client side of things. So pretty standard here in terms of the tools that we can utilize. We've also got secrets down here, which this pertains to mostly API keys that we may need to use in our webhook headers. For example, with API requests, we do authorization, bearer, and token. And this way it's being used as a secret, similar to an environment file. And that's sort of the agent side of things. Obviously with voice, we have a few options here. Again, 11 Labs being the biggest voice provider out there. We've got so many different voices to choose from. We can also specify the output format, the type of output audio format, and typically over the phone, so telephony format is 16,000 Hertz, but we can choose from a wide array of different frequencies specific to your own application. So very cool there. We've also got a pronunciation dictionary where we can add a lexicon dictionary file, and this helps with pronunciation of certain words that haven't really been trained into the existing voices that we see. We've also got streaming latency, stability, and similarity, but we'll move on to analysis. Now, this is a pretty cool section. It includes evaluation criteria and data collection. So we can add our own goal prompt criteria here to determine whether a call was a success, a failure, or an unknown call. So for example, if a call was a success, would say the call booked in a meeting, and using an LLM, we can have the transcript analyzed. So in this case, if the call was, or if the user was to book in a meeting, that would be successful, and we can add that criteria. So a cool feature here where we can evaluate the outcome of each call based to our own specification. A similar thing here, we can also collect data from conversation transcripts post-call, and we can add the data type being a Boolean, integer, a number, or a string. So we may want to collect fields like the user's name, the user's number, and so forth. And these will be details that will be collected post-call. We've also got security, and what is a unique feature here that no other platform offers is authentication, where we can require a user to authenticate themselves before actually connecting to the agent. We can also have allow lists, where we're sort of allowing specific domains and ports to connect to the agent. Also, I can add my own domains, and maybe our domains on a VoIP system where we can specify that port for telephony communication and things like that. A very unique feature in terms of these 2 security things, which is very cool and quite useful in preventing unauthorized access to your agent and spam calling, which is a really good feature, and I think other platforms should adopt in the future as well. We also have enable override, where we can override the agent language, the first message, the system prompt, and the voice to allow for more dynamic conversations. So say our agent speaks in English and notices the user speaks in Spanish, we can change the agent language dynamically during the call or at the start of that conversation. Similar, we can do first message, system prompt, and the voice. Utilizing 11 Labs SDK, which we won't get into this video, but we can in the future. Second to last, we have advanced. We have your typical max duration keywords, and turn timeout, where we can force a user response after a silence period of 7 seconds, for example. We have max conversation duration. We can also define likelihood keywords to present themselves in our transcript as well. So common words that really can't be passed too correctly, things like iPhone, iMacs, iPad, and things like that. So we can train in some keywords so that they're predicted correctly by the agent as well. And we also have this thing called client events, where we can specify what events to be sent to the client. But moving on, finally, we have the widget, and that's what you see down here in the right hand corner, where we can simply embed this code into our website HTML or something like that, so it pops up in the right hand corner. So very easy to connect a web call version of these agents into your own application. We can also customize the appearance of the actual widget itself. So a pretty cool agent creation system here, and it's pretty typical for what's required in developing these AI voice agents in terms of the composition and how you can tweak things specific to your needs. Let's jump into a test agent of Eric here, call AI agent.
Hi, I'm Eric. How can I help you today?
Hey Eric, how are you?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm ready to help you out today. What can I do for you?
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm Eric, your friendly neighborhood support agent. I'm here to help you with any questions or issues you might have. I'm really passionate about helping people and making sure they have a great experience. What kind of things are you interested in learning?
Cool, so the latency off the bat there, without any tool calls or anything like that, is pretty quick. But we'll jump over to the next part of this conversational AI framework here, and that's conversations. We can see all our past user conversations, and we can go into the one we just had, and this will include an overview, the summary of the conversation, the call status, the transcription, and any client data that we're sending, as well as the recording and some metadata here. So pretty robust in the data that's collected. And finally, we have phone numbers, where we can import our own phone numbers to utilize and assign an agent to. At the moment, we can only import from Twilio, and this will import our number that we can use to assign, at least on an inbound side, what agent to use. So overall, that is the platform, and we'll jump into now creating an assistant. Now, there are a large amount of use cases that you can build these AI voice agent for, and some popular applications here are your customer service reps, your virtual assistants, your retail support, and your conversational characters. And today we're actually going to be diving into maybe building out a virtual assistant to manage scheduling, set reminders, look up information. Particularly, we'll do scheduling appointments today, being one of the more complex applications of AI voice assistants, but I think it'll give a good insight into specifically how tool calling works with 11 Labs conversational AI as compared to more conventional platforms like your Vapey. And specifically, we need to make note of how they integrate with third-party applications. And they do this by direct API access for custom implementations. Now, in Vapey, we build our tool within the platform, and we'll give it a tool name, description, and parameters that we're looking to collect that we can then pass on to our own server to perform that API call thereafter. It's different here where we bypass this need to perform logic in our server and we converse directly with the third-party application's API endpoints. So for example, cal.com, if I'm going to create a booking assistant today, I need to access their API frameworks directly from within 11 Labs. So what do I mean by that? To create a booking, more specifically to create a booking voice AI agent, we need to talk and interact with two endpoints. And that's to first get availability on a calendar, and secondly, to actually book that event in on the calendar. Today, we're going to be using cal.com to create this AI booking assistant. And the first endpoint we'll be using is get available slots here. And we know our required query parameters to facilitate actually making this request is the start time, the end time, the event type ID, the slug, and the duration as well. Once we have an available time, we can actually create that booking using a different endpoint, create a booking, and this is a post request where we need the start, length in minute, event type ID, attendee, including their name, email, time zone. So instead of collecting these as parameters for a tool we custom create in a platform like Vapey or Synthflow, we're actually conversing now directly with that platform. So again, trying to reduce latency here by getting to the metal of things rather than going through these layers of applications to perform logic. So we'll go ahead and create a new assistant. Let's call this Jonas. And we'll create a blank template here, go down and create an agent. And now everything's blank, we need to set up everything here. First off, we're gonna choose Anthropic 3.5 Sonnet, and we can set up English here. I'm not gonna go with anything else. Our first message is going to be, hello, how can I? Nothing too fancy. And then we can specify the system prompt. Now with these AI voice agents, a good structure is to use the role, context, task, and guidelines framework. I've got a custom ready prompt here that'll deal specifically with inbound appointment booking. So here we are, role, you're Jonas, an AI receptionist tasked with booking appointments. People call in to book in meetings. A task, we're gonna give it today's date, and we can pass now dates into prompts as well, but for today, we'll keep it simple and straightforward, give it today's date, and then we'll give it a task. So we're gonna use two tools in this example. That is the get availability slots and book meetings, similar to the required endpoints to actually book a meeting. Assume the user is looking for a 15-minute meeting and so forth. Similar with booking a meeting, collect the caller's name, meeting time, duration, and email address. Moving on to the LLM, we said we're doing 3.5, temperature, everything here will leave except for tools. I'll just go ahead and save this first. We'll go ahead and hit add tool, and these tool types are gonna be webhook. We're sending data to cal.com's endpoint, and we're also receiving data. So the first one we can do here is gonna be get available slots, and we'll give it a description. So this API takes a date, time range as input and returns the times that is available within that range. And this is going to be a get request to cal.com's endpoint, which is under slots, get available slots. And you can see here, the URL is like so, and we can directly put that in there. As with any API request, we're gonna need some headers, and this includes the content type, and we can choose from a value or secret here. Secrets we'll get to in a moment. This is value. It's gonna be application JSON. We'll add a new header, and when dealing with cal.com, we need to include the API version 240813. We'll add another header, which will be our authorization header, and this will be secret, but for now we'll keep it bearer so I can complete the tool creation process, and we'll get back to that. Now with a get request, we're gonna use a query parameter. So we can start to add these query parameters. You know, what do we want to query that endpoint with? And specifically, we're going to search available time slots within a start time and an end time, so we can add a parameter. And the first one, like I mentioned, is going to be start time. This is going to be a required parameter. We need these to actually facilitate the get request. A little description here that will be left in the description of the video if you guys need, to be passed in by the LLM. We'll add another parameter. So we have start time, add parameter. We'll go end time, and another description here, the end time of the slot the person is checking availability. UTC time zone formatted to ISO 8601. This is the format that cal.com specifically requests when making these API requests to their platform. We'll add another parameter. So remember, going back to our query parameters here, we need start time, end time, event type ID, event type slug. So we're gonna put in the event type ID and the slug now. Event type ID, we'll give it a description, the desired meeting length as an event ID, and I have one already. So if you're in cal.com, you'll have different event times with specific event IDs. The event slug is the endpoint here, and the ID you can get from the API documentation here. Get event types and you'll see the details for the events there. So we got the event type ID here, and then we'll add a final one for the event slug there, and then we'll add a description also. The event slug is AI voice agent discovery. We know on our dashboard I have this AI voice agent discovery, and there we go. We've composed our API request as a tool within this conversational AI by 11 Labs. So we can go ahead and add tool here, and you'll see our tool is here. We're gonna go ahead and add a secret though. This will act as our bearer token. So bearer space, and our value is going to be our cal.com API key, which we'll just paste in here. It's a bearer token here that we can now use in our authorization header without exposing any keys. And you'll see there the bearer token we just created. We'll go ahead and hit save changes. Save. And now if I were to, I might just quickly change the voice here from Eric. We'll just change this to Bill or something. And then if I go ahead and test this agent, we'll call in.
Hello, I am Jonas. How can I help you today?
Hey, can we check availability for tomorrow, the 6th of December at 12 p.m., please?
I apologize for the inconvenience. It seems there's a technical issue preventing me from accessing the availability information at the moment.
Okay.
Let me
So the tool call didn't work, and this is good because we can go into the conversations now and show what's going on under the hood. And if I go into the transcriptions here, it will show parameters. We have a 401, so we're unauthorized. It's because I didn't add my API token properly, so I'll add that in again. Okay, I added the new token, but I actually don't like that voice at all. So I'm gonna change it to Lily. We'll do a female voice, call AI agent.
Hello, I am Jonas. How can I help you today?
Hey, I would like to check the availability for tomorrow, the 6th of December at 12 p.m., please.
Certainly. I'd be happy to check the availability for tomorrow, December 6th at 12 p.m. for you. Let me look that up right away. Great news. I found available slots for tomorrow, December 6th. The time you requested, 12 p.m., is available. Would you like to book this time slot for a 15-minute meeting?
Awesome. So that tool now worked. If we go back into the conversations, you'll see this conversation here. Tool called get available slots, and we had our slots retrieved. Great news, I found available slots. Now what we have to do is facilitate actually booking in that appointment, which is going to be a similar webhook tool call where we're going to submit an API post request to cal.com to facilitate the event creation. I'm just going to go back in and use a default voice. I did not like that voice one bit. Now back in our agents tab, we can go ahead and create our book meeting tool. That'll follow the specification from this calendar API, create a booking. We know we need the headers, and then we need these body fields, start, length in minutes, event type ID, and then an attendee object with values name, email, time zone, language. So we can go down, add a tool, and we'll call this book meeting. We'll give it a description. Call this function when you've collected the caller's full name and email address. And the method here is going to be post. We're creating something to this endpoint, and the URL we know is going to be https // blah, 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 bookings. Paste that in there. Headers. We know we need those same headers. Content type, change that to value, application, JSON, add another header, and then we know we need the Cal API version, paste that in there. We know the version, cool. And then finally, we need obviously an authorization header. This can be secret authorization, and we're gonna be using the bearer token we have there. Now, we're not going to be using query parameters here. This is going to be body parameters because it is a post request. So we're going to go ahead and enable that, and we'll give a description, which will be our meeting booking details, and then we can add our properties here. So we know we need the start, length in minutes, and event type ID. So we can just copy these names, start. We'll give it a description. The start time of the slot the person is checking availability for in UTC time zone formatted. Extract time from natural language, convert it to UTC. So we're using LLMs to actually get the value of the key identifier here. We'll add a new property. This is going to be required. add a new property. We know we need the length in minutes. Boom. We'll add a description also, length in minutes, and we're just gonna keep it as 15. We're gonna change this to a number. Actually, we'll change it to an integer, and then we'll add another property. We also need the event type ID, which we can copy. This is going to be an integer as well. We'll give it a description, and the event type ID, remember we have a unique ID for each cal.com event. So it's the unique cal event ID for the meeting duration. Use this. Now we'll add a new property. This is going to be attendee, which is an object. You can change that. We know it's attendee. Copy that, paste, and we'll give it a description. The info on the attendee, including their name, email address, and time zone. And then we can add some sub properties here, which is going to be a string for their name. So the first name of the person booking the meeting. We need the email, time zone, and then not necessarily the language. So we'll collect the email, add property, email, the email address of the person booking the meeting. We'll give it an example actually, give it an example, and then the time zone finally. I'm in Australia, so my time zone will be different to you. You'll change this to whatever time zone you're in, and the description is going to be the caller's time zone, like Australia and Sydney. And we know this is a string, that's a string, the name is a string, just the event type ID and length in minutes are going to be integers. We'll actually change them. I might change this to number. It doesn't really matter between numbers. We'll change them to numbers. And then there we have, we do have our tool created here. Check, we have everything. And now if we use this, we know the task is to get availability, book a meeting. If it fails, check the email format guidelines. So we'll go ahead and test this agent now. Call AI agent.
Thank you, Jonas. I'll book that appointment for you right away. I apologize, but it seems there was an issue while trying to book the appointment.
Okay, so that tool call didn't work. We can go into the conversation. So with my specific event here, the time is already spec. Can actually remove that, the time, the length in minutes out of this request as a whole, and we can just save that.
Hello, I am Jonas. How can I help you today?
Hey, I want to check availability for tomorrow, the 6th of December at 1 p.m.
Certainly. I'd be happy to check the availability for tomorrow, December 6th at 1 p.m. Let me look that up for you right away. Great news! The time slot you requested, tomorrow, December 6th at 1 p.m. is available. Would you like to go ahead and book this appointment? If so, I'll need your full name and email address to complete the booking.
Yes, the name is Jonas and the email address is jonas@gmail.com.
Excellent, Jonas. I'll book that appointment for you right away. Just to confirm, that's tomorrow, December 6th at 1 p.m. for a 15-minute meeting. I'll use the email address you provided. Great news, Jonas. Your appointment has been successfully booked. Here are the details.
So if I went over to my bookings, we'll see tomorrow at 1 p.m. between Jonas and Jonas, jonas@gmail.com. Perfect. So there you have it. The 11 Labs Conversational API walkthrough and live agent creation actually being one of the most complex things, booking assistance over the phone, which surprisingly was rather straightforward when connecting directly to a third-party application via API, as compared to some of these other platforms like Vapeen, Bland, Retail, and things like that, that don't necessarily connect directly to the third-party application, but connect to your server that then facilitates that API request. So again, reducing additional layers and therefore reducing the latency. You'll notice with this latency, it was rather brief. What I can do now, for instance, is I've got an imported Twilio number, and then I can connect the agent and then call into that number, and the process is the same. One thing I haven't mentioned that I'll quickly skim over now is pricing. So pricing here, we have a relatively cheap usage pricing, 500 credits per minute, and in production, 1,000 credits per minute. Now, the pricing tiers in 11 Labs is you get 100,000, so about 100 minutes of call time for $22 a month. So do the maths on that. Obviously, you have additional telephony costs. So if you're connecting a Twilio number now, you're also going to be charged that 7 cents or something a minute in conjunction with 11 Labs. But that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough and breakdown of the new conversational AI by 11 Labs. If you found this interesting or helpful, leave a comment and like this video. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to stay ahead of the AI curve. I upload weekly. If you're a business owner looking to get in touch with a developer like myself to create these AI voice agents, click the link below and we can work together. But that is it for today. Until next week.